Alright, this is the third video on parabolic graph. Now, we are exploring the equation y is equals to ax squared plus q. And on this particular equation, we are now exploring the effect of q to say what type of changes are being brought about by this value of q. Now, what we need to understand is the fact that the q represents a y-intercept. And this y-intercept, what does it affect? It affects our y-axis. Either we're going to be going up or we're going down. Last year in grade 9, you dealt with a topic about transformation. And amongst the 4 types of transformation, the other topic that, the subsection that you dealt with under transformation was what? What we call translation. Translation deals with what? Going up or down. So on the y-axis, either you're going up or you're going down. Translation also means going to the left or going to the right. But in grade 10, what you investigate on the parabolic graph, it's either you're going up or you're going down. All right, so I've written some few equations here. I started with the parent graph, which is function of x is equals to x squared. And I used the 3x values, -1, 0, and 1. Here, these are our y values. Then, what did we do? Now the second one is g of x, which is equals to x squared minus 1. This minus 1 here is the value of q, right? And on h of x is equals to x squared plus 1. This positive 1 is the value of q. So now we're going to be comparing these 3 graphs, right? The parent graph here where there is a -1 is our q and where there is a positive 1. And we'll see where is it going to translate, how is it affecting the parent graph, the mother graph, the original graph. All right, so when we are at x is equals to -1, our y was 1 here. And when it was 0, our y was 0. And when our x was 1, our y was 1. So when our x was -1, our y was positive 1, which is somewhere here. When our x was 0, our y is 0 there. And when our x was positive 1, our y is positive 1 there. So, right, this is the graph of what? I think I made a mix up here. So this blue graph here in the middle, that's what we call the function of x. Function of x. This is the name. So there I made a mistake. All right. Okay, this is the function of x. Then let's go to g of x is equals to x squared minus 1, right? So what's happening there? Now, when our x value was -1, our y was 0. So when our x is -1, where is our y? Our y is 0, which is here. When our x is equals to 0, our y is -1. Our y is -1, which is where? Which is here. Then when our x is +1, our y is 0, which is there. Now, at this point in time, I would like to take that opportunity to remind you of the fact that I said when on the previous, on the first video of the parabola, I said when you've got y is equals to x squared, it means that you've got what? 2 x-intercepts. And what are intercepts? Intercepts, this is when your graph touches the x-axis. So as you can see with this graph which we are having here, this is the graph of what? G of x is equals to x squared minus 1. Now we have got the x-intercept here, which is -1, and the other x-intercept which is +1. So we are simply saying that here, if you can observe, our x is -1, but our y is what? Is 0. And here, our x is +1, and our y is what? 0. These are the 2 x-intercepts, and our equation is what? X squared minus 1, right? Now, what are we investigating? We're investigating q here to say that, which is -1. How did it change this graph of x squared? So let's go back. Here, when we were at -1, our y was 0. When we were at -1, our y was 1. Sorry for that. And here, when our x is -1, our y is 0, right? So now let's observe. When our x was -1 on the original graph, the y was 1. You can see it here. But now on this one, because we've got -1, do you see that it has gone down by what? By 1 unit, because now we're at 0. Remember, from 1 to 0, it means 1 minus what? 1 minus 1. So this -1, we have gone down, which means we translated 1 unit downwards, right? Hence we are at 0. If you observe, when it was +1 here, what did we have? +1 as well, our y value. And if we come here, we at x is +1, our y is 0, meaning to say that we went 1 unit downwards from this parent graph to our graph of what? X squared minus 1. G of x is equals to x squared minus 1. We've gone 1 unit downwards, right? So the effect of a negative, it tells us that the graph will go what? Downwards. When you are having a negative number, your graph will be translated downwards. That is the effect of a negative number for the value of q. All right. And then we go to the last graph that we have, and we had h of x is equals to x squared plus 1, and we are investigating the effect of +1. We are comparing with the parent graph. At x is equals to -1, our y was 1. At x is equals to -1, our y is 2. And when we compare these two, 1 and 2, it means that we've gone up. Meaning to say that this 1 unit has made us to go up. And if you check the graph, at x is equals to -1, our y is what? 2, right? We were here, and then we've gone 1 unit up, right? And if we check, at x is equals to 1 on the parent graph, our y was 1. At x is equals to 1, where the q is +1, we've gone to 2. And if we go graphically, on the original parent graph or mother graph, with x is equals to 1, y was equals to 1. Now at x is equals to 1, our y is equals to 2, which means we also went 1 unit upwards. So the effect of a positive number, right, of the y-intercept, it makes the graph to go what? Upwards, right? So the graph will shift upwards depending on the number, which means that if we had 2 here, the graph would have shifted 2 units upwards. If we had 4, it would have shifted 4 units upwards. But observe one thing. Here, we don't have what? We don't have the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts here, they are invisible. It's for varsity, right? So that's what's the effects of q on this particular graph, right? On the next video, I'm going to be dealing with what? I'm going to be now dealing with the number 1, x and y intercept. We'll be calculating for that, x and y intercept. Number 2, we will be dealing with what? The turning point of a graph, right? Number 3, we'll be dealing with the minimum value of a graph. So you don't want to miss that out. Thank you.